wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons, the Transformers. The Transformers. That means the Transformers.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Now today, guys, I really wanted to kind of bring this one to you guys because this is the Chaos on Velocitron Optimus Prime. Now this came in that a particular box set. This is not the standard stock version that you can get. So anyway, one of the things that I find really interesting about this Optimus, just to kind of get started on him, let's just jump right into it. One of the things I love about it is, you know, with pretty much every Optimus Prime that we get, you have your standard red and blue and silvers. So for this one to have so many more colors, like for instance the red fading into the black, you know, and you just have little bits of blue here and there, along with like all this like crazy foil stickers that came on this figure to begin with, like that weird caricature of Optimus Prime. And just, I mean, this thing is just loaded up with foil stickers all over it. I find that interesting. It's different, and to be honest, this one is actually based on his G2 Laser Prime self. So for them to have a kind of updated version of that figure, I think it's really kind of cool. Though I'm going to openly admit, the whole reason this one exists to begin with was so that eventually one day they would be able to release Octane. I mean, that's it, pure and simple. They were able to nail down the truck mode of G2 Laser Prime, but later, you know, recycle it into being used for Octane. So, I mean, that's the truth, pure and simple there, no lie. But, you know, hey, I mean, it's really cool. I like it. It's loud, and it's not just your standard boring red, blue, and silver. So, let's go ahead and take a look at his Titan Master, and this one's called Diac, which is kind of a play on the old, from where the Transformers were taken from, the Diaclone series in Japan. And, you know, Diac, he's just a little strange, to be honest. I mean, he's just got that random blue head, with the rest of his body just being, you know, the gray that the rest of the body's molded in, as opposed to this kind of sky blue that he is the neck and the rest of the head or the face is made from, which is really weird because for this version of Optimus, it is such a lighter blue, it stands out in contrast to other primes. So that's kind of a nice little feature too. But anyway, for a little bit of comparison in this mode, here is RC. Now Optimus is a Voyager and RC is the Deluxe. Now obviously these are not in scale. This truck should be much bigger than this car, and the reverse is true. This car should be a lot smaller. So these are definitely not in scale to each other, but you know, if you look at the history of Transformers, that's nothing new. But to kind of compare him with some more interesting ones, you saw what he looked like here with Octane, and one I've really wanted to compare him to is Scourge. And I mean, you know, my big deal is I'm not a fan of buying the same mold over once. So, with that being said, I'm not going to explain how I ended up with 3, but you do know that I did. Now, the difference with these guys, aside from their paint, is he has a little bit of remolding. Because if you look on the back of Optimus and Scourge here, their wings are able to be concealed up inside of their truck tanker mode. With him, if you saw my Octane review, you know that these wings are different from the ones that these guys have. But anyway, that's just a little side note I thought I'd throw in there as proof of the remolding. So kind of see how that works. And yeah, I really do like this truck mode, obviously. I mean, here's your proof. So, and if you want to look at him as, say, a non-vehicle, somebody that has a beast mode, here he is with, let's go ahead and see if we can get these better in frame together. Here he is with Grotesque. And, you know, hey, I mean, yeah, that's cool. I mean, you can't really compare this G1 Fusor to you know, a semi-truck. You have no point of reference. So, it looks strange, but oddly enough, it also looks well together. as strange as that sounds. So anyway, guys, but enough of that. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look at Optimus in his jet mode. So here we have Optimus in his plane mode. Now, one of the things about this jet mode is I have the wings in a particular position. Because to me, with these wings, when they're in the other position for the jet mode, not only are the windows for the cab visible, which throws the whole aesthetic off, but because they're so boxy and short, it just looks kind of like a tacky plane. So by doing it like this, I think by having the wings flipped backwards even farther than up here around where the middle section would be, by having them back farther like this, I think it gives it more of, well, it just gives it a better look, and it conceals the windows a little bit better, which is why I did that. So overall, I mean, it's not a terrible jet mode. In this, especially with the wings like this, it makes the grill of the truck kind of look like intake engines on a private jet. Which overall, that's what his jet mode kind of looks like to me. It doesn't look like a commercial jet. It looks like a private jet that somebody would have. Now, the reason I say that is when you look at, say, for instance, Octane, his looks more like a commercial airliner plane as opposed to like a private jet like this. So, again, maybe it's just, you know, maybe you disagree, and that's perfectly fine. But to me, if I'm going to have a deal, like I said, with a more commercial airline deal, I'm going to go with Octane on that. So anyway, sorry guys, it's incredibly late, so I'm trying to keep this cohesive and to keep it moving. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at Optimus with Scourge in his comparative jet mode. And I have to say, I think I do like Scourge's jet mode just because the overall, how the colors tie together a little bit better. Plus, the darker theme helps with the overall aesthetic and design of the jet. So, anyway, one last comparison that we will go ahead and put him up against. Ooh, I can keep the camera straight here. Is we're going to go ahead and compare him with Metal Hawk from the Siege on Cybertron set. And I understand it's kind of hard looking at it from this angle. But, you know, it's really kind of cool because you can't really see it on camera, but Metal Hawk's wingspan is actually equal to that of Optimus's jet mode. Now, if you want to, we looked earlier whenever he was in tanker mode with RC, and compared to Metal Hawk's fighter jet mode here, if you look at the size of the cockpits, there's a great size difference. So these guys, ironically, are not in scale either, but even if you were going to put them on the same shelf, despite the scale difference, I think it'd look good. They're both kind of slick jets, and I really like it. So anyway, guys, all right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to probably the most fun part of this review, and we're going to take a look at Optimus in his robot mode. Okay, guys, well, before we move on, I did forget to do one thing, and if you saw on my Octane review, I showed you where his Titan Master goes on him and Scourge. Now, I mean, this mold and Scourge are virtually identical, but I did want to go ahead and just throw it in here just for the fun of it. And if you look at this, it has a compartment for your Titan Master. Now, in jet mode, if you wanted him to face forward towards the front of the jet, you would drop him in like this. Well, with vehicle mode, the front of the tanker is actually that way. So in tanker mode, if you wanted him to face forward with the vehicle, you could drop him in like that. Seal it up, there you go. So anyway, it was just one of those small things that I forgot to do, and like I said, if you see my other review, you already know that, but in case you hadn't, I wanted to just go ahead and throw that in there real quick. So alright, now we will go ahead and look at Optimus in his robot mode. And so here's Optimus in his robot mode. And one thing I noticed off the bat is in a lot of G2 robots, and a lot of, well, it was more of the Transmetal Beast Wars, they had this weird thing where they would actually put the robot's name on the robot in like one mode or the other, and you saw on his tanker mode he had his name on the back part of his tank. It was just kind of a weird little fun thing that I noticed, but they even homaged that detail on these Titans Return figures, at least for Optimus, which I thought was kind of funny. So anyway, as you can see, again, like I said, this is just basically an updated version of his Laser Prime mold. But overall, as a robot, I really do like everything. How the reds and the blacks and the silvers and the little bits of blue, they don't really clash with each other. It just works really nicely. The only part you can really tell something's off is on the back here, where you see the little bits of the plane mode. But I mean, it's not terrible because for the most part, from the front, it's concealed. Now, the reason that it works so well is considering how it is used for Octane later on, how his wings, still the tail section does, split right down the middle, but for him, his wings were supposed to be out. And yes, that is Scorponok's head on Octane's body, which if you watch one of my other reviews, you'll understand why. But we go ahead and we look at Optimus here. We'll go ahead and, before we go ahead and do a complete comparison, one of the things that I do love is they included this blue version of the sword, and while it may not be a Star Saber, it does kind of, to me personally, it does kind of remind me of that. And for the sword, I mean, it looks really good on him to have this blue sword and everything. So he can, help if I didn't knock it out of his hand there. But yeah, I mean, he can use it, and he also does come with the G2 Laser Prime rifle that has been converted for a Titan Master. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's definitely armed to the teeth and ready to take on some cons. So we'll go ahead and pull Octane back in here, or Scorponok, depending on how you want to look at it. And then here's Scourge with his Sword of Fury. So you can kind of see how they all stack up together and everything. And I mean, hey, for 3 different iterations of the mold, I like it. Looks good. So, well, 2 iterations, because one's just recolored, but that's beside the point. And for a comparison, we're going to go ahead, we'll throw in a couple of Autobots here. Kind of see how that all looks together. And yeah, so even though in his other 2 modes he was out of scale with these 2 figures, at least in robot mode, and it's probably more due to him being a Voyager than anything else, but at least in robot mode he is in scale, proper scale with these figures. So anyway guys, this has been the review of the Chaos on Velocitron version of Optimus Prime from the Titans Return lines. So anyway guys, I hope you really enjoyed this review, and please stay tuned for others coming down the line, and like usual, we'll see you guys next time in another review.